Hi, I'm Alex Jules, and you're watching Atheist Edge.
Hello, welcome again to Atheist Edge. We have a super fun moment for you guys today. We have a bit of a, what do you guys want to call it, a standoff, and a mental arm wrestle. What we have...
We don't know yet.
on your right is Jim Majors. He is an executive at Atheist Republic, the largest online atheist organization on earth. And he's a former Pentecostal pastor. So do you have anything you want to say before we turn it over to Brady?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And on your left, my right, is Brady Blevins, a doctor of educational ministries, a senior apologist at Watchman Fellowship, and some other stuff that Brady will now tell us about. Brady, what do you think? What do you want people to know about you?
I was a senior pastor for 10 years, and my degree is from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, and I've been with Watchman now for about 5 years.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for. I just want to extend the kind of olive branch of. Thank you for coming, because I know how intimidating this is probably to a lot of people to be like, I'm going on an atheist show, and you're super duper not atheist. So I hope that no matter what, you feel comfortable here. This is not about making anyone feel bad. Don't do it. Okay? So, I mean, I just want you to be comfortable here, you know?
Thank you.
So I hope you feel that way. What do you guys want to talk about? Like, in a situation where you have an atheist and a religious person kind of coming together, what is like number one for both of you guys? Like, let's start. Let me start over here.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Start with
what's
the
like
guest.
the number one? Like, if an atheist walked up to you in a bar or wherever you might go, that's not a bar. What would you like to talk to them about?
One of the things that always interests me is to hear not just Christians' conversion stories, but to hear non-Christian who used to be Christian, their deconversion story. And so when Jim told me about Jim, used to be a Pentecostal pastor, I want to hear the story.
Sure, yeah, and a lot of people do. I grew up in a big Pentecostal family. My great uncle founded the first Pentecostal church in our hometown. Oh, wow. And so we grew up in the family church. My great uncle was pastor, and then an uncle was pastor, and then myself. And we would frequently change in and out, and moved away from the home church for a while, and did my own little thing in a little town in West Texas. And it all started with myself getting told by a Jehovah's Witness, and he pointed out something to me in the Bible that I had not seen for myself and didn't even remember reading the verse, and that really bothered me, that there was something in the book that I held so close to my heart as my own doctrine, and in fact molded my life around it. I was ashamed. So essentially, I wanted to learn more about what I thought I believed, and so I really delved deeper into the Bible, and I even created sermons, both for congregation and for small groups on Wednesday nights, to really get into the Word and what the Word means, the origin of the Word, and in doing so, I found a lot of things that didn't really make sense to me, and one thing after another. A lot of people think that there's one cataclysmic epiphany that kind of changes everything and not even gets the ball rolling, but it's just like a sheer drop off. That's what most people think, because they just go walking off the cliff and drop down to atheism or whatever. But really, it was a slow process that just kind of slowly ate away at me, and in fact, in my last couple of years of what I would consider my last years of belief, I really struggled with all of these ideas, but yet continued to spread the word and continue to educate others. But I would often hold back things that I discovered for myself that I didn't feel like would go over well teaching somebody in a Wednesday night setting, and just eventually I had to be honest with myself and be honest with others that I really no longer believed. And those last few days was extremely, extremely difficult. I wouldn't say that I was angry with God, but I was very persistent in praying. I would wake up and pray, cry. I would pray in the evening and cry, and just, because at this point, it wasn't even the idea of heaven as an afterlife to look forward to. Because I knew that as a person, if a God did exist, that I was going to heaven, but it was the fact that if I lost my belief, that I would go to hell. So in the end, it wasn't even about heaven being real or not being real. It was me wrestling with the fact that if I'm wrong, I'm going to hell. And that was a very real fear that was indoctrinated in me at a young age. And anybody who was raised in a United Pentecostal church knows that, they really throw down the fire and brimstone. So I believe you're Baptist, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Baptists really like to throw down the whole fire and brimstone thing.
In some circles more than others.
Right, sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's more so on the primitive and Southern Baptist side.
So you're a UPCI?
UPC, yes, correct.
UPC, okay, all right.
We don't need labels here.
Right.
I grew up Church of Christ, so
okay.
it's like, yeah, I'm kind of with you on the whole
Gotcha.
Okay. So I think I started this with you asking kind of the open question of what would you like to ask an atheist. So since we're sitting with the Christian, sorry, I'm on his side, but since we're so
right now you are. Maybe at the end.
He's sitting on.
I don't think we have. So in a very open, warm environment, what would you like to ask to Brady about anything that's been bothering you? Like anything that, obviously you've thought about this a lot. So what's like your number one question?
Well, in a very warm environment, do you want a T-shirt? That's
okay.
No. In
right. Yeah. Like, are you getting toasty?
No, the air conditioner vents it right on. It's got a little cold here.
Right.
No, seriously, we're trying to be serious.
Okay. All right, what was the question again?
Well, what do you want to ask somebody who has who's obviously studied it this hard to get a doctorate? Like
sure.
That means he knows shit, right?
Right.
So
absolutely.
What's one of the number one questions that you just
right.
want to know?
Well, in the beginning of the show, you were talking to him, making sure that he feels comfortable. But in reality, this guy's been training his whole life for this.
That's true.
This is game day. Okay, he's been waiting for this. It's been off season. It's the first game. There's no scrimmage. This is the real deal. But no, and it always interests me. What makes a person pursue things like that. But I'm going to skip over that, and I'm going to ask: did you ever come across anything in the Bible that made you question the I guess the inerrancy of it?
Yes, that absolutely.
Can you give me an example?
Well, for one example, I think if you pick up any of Bart Ehrman's, and any of his popular works, now his scholarly works don't exactly always match his popular work, and so there was a couple of things in there that, man, when I first read it, I was like, wait, hold on, we gotta hold on, because if this is right, I'm gonna have to really start doing some digging, and so there were some things in there that really made me question. It made me dig deeper. I was able to resolve some of those issues. A lot of them surrounding where he had, in terms of the Gospels, and
right.
Okay, well, they're hopelessly contradictive. And then you take time, and it's funny because his big thing is read. Don't read from top to bottom. What does he say? But read
left to right.
Read left to right.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that's the way I've always read it. And so when he said that, I was like, well, hold on. And so I really made a point to do that. And it was kind of ironic that the more that I did that, the more I saw that no, these aren't hopelessly contradicting at all. In some cases, he made some errors that's like, come on, Bart. Bart, I think you're smarter than me by great lengths.
Sure.
And yet you just failed to read what was on the page. I don't understand how you could have gotten to this. And so who knows, maybe it's still a lack of understanding on my part of the point he was trying to make. But we had, in fact, with our group at Watchman Fellowship, we have an Atheist Christian book club. Meets the first Friday of every month, and so it's a great time where, usually it's about half and half atheist, half Christian. Sometimes it might tilt the scales one way or the other, but sometimes depending on the book,
Sure,
or
absolutely.
or depending on if we have an author, one of the authors come in, then that might tilt the scales one way or the other. One such time was when Aaron Raw was with
wow.
us, and so
Excellent.
that was really cool to get to go straight to the source. Then a couple of weeks ago, we had we went over a Bart Ehrman book, but unfortunately he didn't have time for us. But we had a guy who has debated him and knows him, and we had him in the office. It just kind of worked itself out.
There you go.
And by Tim McGrew, and so. He went through, and that was pretty fascinating to go through that. But yeah, to answer the question in short, oh yeah, I mean, there's absolutely been times where it's like, man, is this a problem or is this not?
Right.
Because kind of what I heard you say is almost kind of like it was the 10,000 paper cut type thing that
Right.
killed you. It's not, and we run across that a lot at Watchman because we focus on counterfeit Christian groups like Jehovah's Witness, Mormonism, false religions like Islam, and of course we're obviously defining that from Christianity as the basis.
Okay.
And so that was one of the things that interested me is, do you remember what it was that the Jehovah's Witness said to you?
Yeah. Just to kind of interject, I think you brought up something that was said before we were recording, and that was something about the 10,000 paper cuts.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you're asking about?
No.
I just want to clarify that.
No, it's basically saying that the process through which I lost my faith wasn't by any one great severance. It was just by a series of small paper cuts that led me to my non-belief.
Okay, so like it wasn't one eureka moment. It was like a bunch of small moments.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because people were probably watching who didn't hear that.
Okay.
So now ask your question again.
I was the original, the thing that kicked it all off when the Jehovah's Witness is there on your doorstep. Do you remember that?
I've had probably 20 people ask me that between then and now, and I still don't remember what it was.
Because they have a way at the door, don't they?
Yeah, and they really do. And I've always welcomed them in, and even today I still welcome them in. And that now today they usually leave with more questions than answers. But but back in the day, we would start the coffee pot, sit out on the porch, and we'd be out there for hours, hours talking. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it was because at the time, I felt that confident in my belief, and even whenever we disagreed on something, I was very stubborn. I was a very stubborn Pentecostal, and I definitely held my ground. So it was really hard for me to accept new information at first.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, especially, how did your family react to you leaving?
Initially it was a pretty harsh blow. I was excommunicated from certain parts of my family, but since then, people have realized, that I'm not slaughtering cats on Friday the 13th, and I do not, in fact, eat babies every day. So that is another great misconception. We do not eat babies every day. Not every day.
Only on the high days.
Only on the high days, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's actually one of the things I go and whenever I'm in churches and try to tell them, hey, atheist folks, they're not exactly what you have in your mind as an evangelical Christian of what they are. In fact, I know Courtney's been a part of it, Jim's been a part of it. That I've actually had them come out to churches and we've done a Q&A.
Right.
And so it's people go, man, man, what do you? I mean, are you worried about how this is going to go? And I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know what the Christians are going to do.
Right. Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I know you guys are having a great conversation already, but so let's kind of explore that a little bit. What is it in your mind, Jim, about Christians that maybe atheists don't appreciate? And I'm going to flip the question on you, so you can kind of be warming this one up in your brain. But what is it about Christians that maybe atheists maybe don't appreciate if they do, like run into one on the street or run into one on the doorstep? What do you feel is like the... Because we're all humans.
Sure.
Right, like we're all humans. So what's like the connection?
I feel like the connection is humanity. I feel like people who follow Christianity for the most part, or at least the people who follow the attributed teachings of Jesus, they tend to be more humanist than anything. They want to help people, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. So I would say that for people who are raised in secular families, or people who are raised to teach, or who are raised to think that religion is inherently bad, I think it's really important to know that religion does offer a sense of community. It offers a sense of fellowship, and just a sense of family that you wouldn't normally get in any other group setting.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Is that do you Brady, recognize kind of that reasoning?
I agree. I agree with them completely, because we see this in our study of cult groups or counterfeit Christian groups. That in fact, there's a great documentary out right now on Netflix called Wild Wild Country, which is about the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, the Rajneeshis that were near Antelope, Oregon, and it was fascinating what they did. Ultimately, I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but they tried to.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, in case you want to go and watch it immediately.
Trust me, it's long. It's 6 parts. The first episode, but from 2 to 6 is really good. Yeah, stick with it. But what was neat is that, here, this happened like early to mid 80s, and they are using all this old footage from the time. Now, what was really interesting about it. You're looking at nearly 40 years. Oh, hey, wait, hold on. Hey, look around. I think we were all here in the 80s. We were all live doing this. Yeah.
Later 80s.
Old for footage, not old for three guys in front of a camera.
Right.
But what was interesting about it is, so they were doing these interviews with some of the Rajneeshis. They were doing the interviews with some of the townspeople, and what was interesting is they were going to these Rajneeshis. It was the same thing every time. It was all about community, wanting that family and that relationship, and I think that is something that we all strive for, whether we're a believer in Christ or whether we're a non-believer. Or we're in some other group. So I agree with him completely.
Well, I do believe that it's something that you find because it is. I believe that altruism is inherently existent in humans from the very beginning, and so that being said, I believe that most societies structure themselves around community, and whether that's religion based or not, 9 times out of 10, especially historically, it is religion based. It does operate around a deity or a place of worship or something like that. You have the Parthenon, and you have that Mayan temple. These
Parthenons and deities, to me that all means like something else. Like you're kind of always attributing whatever you're doing to something else versus yourself. So that's. Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth.
Well, I'm not even really saying that. I'm just saying that it gives the society something to commune over. They have. Every ancient civilization, they have their feast days. They have. They celebrate solstices. They celebrate different cosmological events, and they usually all revolve around a deity, and they involve some type of feast or some type of socialistic tendencies that feed the village and provide them all a sense of community and belonging.
Well, yeah. It's almost like how communion, the word communion, really is about, like the root word is community.
Yeah.
From what I understand, right? So I don't think, Brady, I've given you a chance to basically ask the same question that we started this on. How does the atheist connect with you? How do you connect with the atheist? What do you want everybody to know about that?
In terms of speaking, with the atheist, whenever you engage in this kind of conversation, you really have something in common, and that's that you both realize that this is a very important question. Because let's just be honest. If I'm right, that's some very significant. There's a very significant outcome to be had, in terms of eternal life.
Sure.
Now, in the same breath, if I'm wrong, then maybe I should sleep in on Sundays. I'm kidding. But
It's really great.
It is. Don't knock it till you try it.
You always see the pregame show. I always wonder what the pregame show is
Right.
like for football. But
The line at the donut shop is much shorter.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So once you hit like 9 o'clock, you're good to go.
Absolutely.
But no, seriously. I mean, if the atheistic position is true, or really just any other position than the one I hold, then I need to give it serious consideration. And that's one thing I really like about having the conversations is because, I mean, the time I've spent with my friends at Metroplex Atheist and the conversations we've had at the Atheist Christian Book Club, man, it challenges me, and we ought to be challenged as people to constantly consider our position. And I think ultimately, I think doubt's a good thing. I think doubt can be a virtue. I mean, I think I think at some point doubt can be problematic if you're not willing to do the work. I mean, and I think that's what sometimes. It's kind of nice to hear about your story. It's like, it caused me to dig deeper. Then my conclusion was, I can't in good faith continue to move forward in this position. As to where I've heard some, and on both sides. I mean, people who have converted to Christianity, it's like, oh well, man, this just sounded like a really great idea, and boy, I wanted to see my grandma when I died. It's like, no. It's like that's not what this is. This is about. There's so much more to it.
Right.
And that's one thing I really liked. And of course, then in terms to my Christian friends, when I'm talking to them about atheists, is, hey, they're not all angry. I mean, they're not all.
I mean, sometimes.
You cut them off in traffic, they're going to be angry.
Yeah.
At you
Right.
too, so,
Right.
Okay, so yeah, it's like it's still. I mean, I'm just hearing from both of you guys that, I mean, there's still a very human element to talking to these people. I mean, you like to invite them in. It's like, hey, have some coffee, let's chill.
Absolutely.
You like to respect the fact that there is a reason behind whatever they're feeling, and you try to hey, these guys, right? Like, I really feel like that's something that a lot of folks are kind of missed out on. Like especially in today's day and age, because there is that idea that atheists are angry,
Right.
and there is that idea that religious people are stupid. So it is just the way it
in
is.
all fairness, I think we both have probably some people in our group that do well to keep that stereotype going.
Well, let me just say this. People who deconvert from a previous held belief, especially people who are deeply indoctrinated within that belief, that there is a lot of anger. There is a lot of resentment, not just towards the dogmatic principles themselves, or the idea of a God that hasn't expressed Himself to you in a way that you would find acceptable, in order to believe. And so there is a period of what I would call anger, and I think it's fair to say that most people who deconvert do have that period of anger, where it's they have the anger, denial, acceptance, whatever the
grief.
Right, exactly, and it goes along the exact same lines, and there was a grieving process. Whenever this happened, it was right around the time that my grandfather died, and my grandfather practically raised me, and so that it was very, and he was a Baptist, and it was very difficult for me to even fathom not seeing him again, because I've gone my entire life, seeing my grandpa with COPD and all these other sleep apnea, all these other problems that eventually led to his death. And knowing that he wasn't going to be around forever, but thinking that I would see him one day, I always held on to that. And so that was something very, very hard for me to accept, was that I was never going to see my grandfather again.
I could see that. As a Christian pastor, and I still do funerals for folks from time to time. It is a passage that we can turn to. We turn to 1 Thessalonians 4 and said, hey, we grieve as those who have no hope. Or we don't grieve as those who have no hope, because we have this blessed assurance that hey, one day we will see them again. It's kind of the difference between a goodbye and a farewell.
Right.
And so I could see how that would be very difficult.
Sure.
To reconcile.
Absolutely. Well, and like my mom, we've had deep religious discussions, and she's one of those religious and politics. She says that she doesn't like talking about it, but hi mom, but she loves talking about it up until a point where you back her into a corner, and she's like, I don't like talking about religion and politics, and so I've often approached her with that, and one day she just really surprised me, and she said, I don't know that I believe. I really don't know, and she used the Pascal's wager argument. I would rather die knowing that I live my life as a Christian and can go to heaven rather than die and find out that there is no heaven and I'm with everybody else anyways.
Yeah. Just to pause real fast, everybody understands what Pascal's wager is. You use that term and you understand what it is. I just want to be clear. Okay, any of you viewers, it's basically the idea that you might as well believe in something, because in the very small chance that what you believe in is true, then at least you have like that in your corner.
Right.
And if nothing is true, then like it's zero anyway. But at least like if you believe in Christianity, it's still like a 1% chance that you get to go to heaven. That to me is Pascal's wager. I don't know if everyone understands that on that level.
It's actually a little bit lower percentage than that, because
what's a percentage?
As a ratio, it's 1 in 4,200, assuming that every Christian goes to heaven.
Okay, but point is, I think that a term was used that maybe not everybody was on board with, but that's generally the idea. Believe in something, because at least if that one belief happens to be right, you kind of hedge your bets.
Right.
So that's Pascal's wager.
Sure.
One of my atheist friends, I thought, gave the greatest rebuttal to Pascal's wager, and what he said was this. He goes, Pascal's wager. He goes, that's ridiculous. He goes, because hold on, if God's real, He can see through your attempt to just get out of hell free card.
Exactly.
And I was like, you know what? That's the best way to look at it. Mm-hmm. So, but you know, you mentioned something that really caught my attention, and that's this idea. And I think that sometimes it's really pushed within Christianity, and it needs to stop. And because this idea that we can even be 100% certain. None of us, regardless of whether we're Jewish or Muslim or Mormon or Methodist or whatever, atheist. None of us can be 100% certain of our in our belief.
An unholy thing.